And then I went from the skateboard industry to family fitness centers, a chain of health spas in San Diego, and I was in charge of health research. And I thought, at that point in time, that's when they came out with the idea of the right brain and the left brain. That was when it first really came out. It came out with mind mapping and Tony Buzan. He was the one that created the mind mapping book, and he started talking about how we process information and how's the best way to use information to basically get it in our brains and keep it in there. And everything that we do now, the way that we present information, totally opposed to the way the brain really works. And I thought, oh my God, there's a right brain and a left brain. That's when I first found out about it. And I'd been playing tennis since I was 13, and I looked like Popeye. On one side, I had a big giant arm, as I played tennis, I looked like Rod Laver. Does anybody remember who Rod Laver was? Yeah. He was a really famous tennis player. Him and Ken Rosewall, they had these epic battles with wooden rackets where the ball would go over like 300 or 400 times. They had to change balls after every point, which is different. I looked in the mirror and I was going, oh my God, I've got polio on my left side. I thought, gee, how am I ever going to be able to get my other side balanced out? And how am I ever going to stimulate my other brain hemisphere so I become a balanced person? Because I was having all kinds of injuries on my right side because it was so tight and was so overdeveloped. And it was at that time I discovered the value of stretching too. So I said, you know what? I think I'll wear my costume to work every day and just become Captain Biorhythm for a year. So that's what I decided to do. I painted my car up as the Biomobile. I wore my costume to work every day, and at that time they were talking about studying rock music and stuff. You should play classical music when people are exercising, and it was at the time when the fluorescent lights. Everybody said fluorescent lights were really bad for you. So I had the early morning shift. So first day I did that, I showed up in my costume, had all the lights turned off, had classical music playing. Everybody just walks in, and it was like they're in an altered dimension. What in the world? I had no idea. And so I had to go through and explain my theory to each and every one of these people. But I did everything left-handed for an entire year. I taught myself to play tennis left-handed. And I found that I was really able to help my students a lot more because I could look at what their tennis strokes were. And if they're left-handed, I could actually show them their strokes because people learn better. How? By telling them how to do it or showing them how to do it? Showing him how to do it. So I would show him how to do the strokes correctly and just explain to him the effects of gravity in tennis. And I explained to him the theory of Sinet. Because I'd already done the test on him. And, I was able to get my students to find their hero within. And by having the hero within, it's their non-dominant brain. For some people, it's their left brain. For some people, it's their right brain. And I showed them the trick because when I was teaching them, I could instantly break any bad tennis habits that they had by getting him to use, I've got a special racket. It's like a secret weapon. It's got 2 handles on it. And so I would get him to use my racket with 2 handles on it, and by using both hands at the same time, that forced him instantly to integrate. It completely changed their whole patterning of how they're doing their strokes because they're just doing it a specific way. All of a sudden I got both hands together into the activity, instantly changed it. And I noticed that when they were able to use both hands, all of a sudden, that dialogue that was going on that was just destroying their game, and of course making enemies of the people on the other side of the court that didn't like to be called horrible names, that it was hard for them to realize the person was just talking to themselves. A lot of times I wasn't sure whether that was just a way of people saying horrible things to me and say, oh, I'm just talking to myself. But the dialogue turned off, and all of a sudden I saw people's games take a quantum leap. And that's the same thing that happens when you use both of those brain hemispheres.